Please do. All right, let's start off with the big numbers.
Oh, whoa.
We gotta bring energy.
For 704 UIL Texas High School football teams, the path to AT&T Stadium starts right now on the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Playoff Bracket Reveal Show presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. Hello, everybody. I'm Greg Tepper, managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine and TexasFootball.com, alongside the Baron of the Brackets, the Prince of the Pairings. It's our high school football insider, Matt Stepp. Matt, happy holidays, buddy.
That's right. It's the best 6 weeks of the year, and I can't wait to get it started. And the great Craig Way says, unwrap the present that is the brackets.
704 UIL Texas High School football teams ready and waiting to see where they are heading in the 2024 Texas High School football playoffs. Of course, we want to invite you to go to TexasFootball.com/playoffs. Make that your hub for the 2024 Texas High School football playoffs. Brackets, pairings, everything you need, predictions, game times and locations, everything for the 2024 Texas High School football playoffs there at TexasFootball.com/playoffs. We're going to unveil all 12 UIL Texas High School football playoff brackets over the course of the next hour or so. We appreciate you spending part of your Saturday night with us. But first, let's talk a little bit about the playoffs and how they happen and what exactly makes the Texas High School football playoffs, because every comic book is somebody's first. So let's start by talking a little bit about what happens at the largest classification in Class 6A. The top 4 teams, Matthew, qualify from each district, qualify for the playoffs, but they are different in the way that they do it in 6A.
Yeah, that's right. In 6A, the teams are split after the regular season ends. So of the 4 playoff teams, the 2 largest schools in the district go into the Division I bracket. The 2 smaller playoff qualifiers go into the Division II bracket.
And then, of course, they will play 6 rounds, culminating at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, playing for the Division I and Division II state championships on December 21st. 5A, 4A, 3A, and 2A. These are the other 11-man classifications. Same thing as far as 4 teams qualifying from each district, but there's a difference with 6A, from 6A.
Absolutely. The districts are already split. So you have Division I teams. So you'll have each district will send 4 teams into the Division I bracket or into the Division II bracket, depending on their classification.
And once again, 6 rounds. You got to win 6 games to win a state championship in the 11-man brackets of UIL Texas High School football. And then, of course, that leaves us with Class 1A, 6-man football. There, only 2 teams, the top 2 teams from each district qualify. Much like 5A and below in the 11-man ranks, the teams are pre-split. They are in Division I or Division II, placed in their appropriate divisions bracket. And then they have 5 rounds making there, because there's half as many teams, but they will play their state championships at AT&T Stadium in Arlington on December 18th. So that is how the Texas High School football playoffs work. That's how these brackets that we're going to be revealing to you over the next hour or so are going to have come to be and how they were made across the state. You go back to realignment back in February. That's really when all of this started, and this is the culmination of that, with Texas high school football hitting its 2nd season, the most exciting 6 weeks of the Texas high school football season. Of course, I do want to talk a little bit about what happened in Week 11. Sure. You know, the final week of the regular season, there were some things to be decided. The final regular season game of the year ended about 8 minutes ago with White Wright beating Trenton. I'm curious, from a Week 11 perspective, what stood out to you?
I think you got to start, at least in the Houston area, with North Shore's dominant performance over Summer Creek, a 35-10 win, very impressive. We look at all the winner go home games, those de facto playoff games in Week 11. A lot of them turned out to be great football games down to the wire. And then you look at some of the really good teams that missed the playoffs. Everyone talks about there's too many teams that make the playoffs. 4 teams is too many. I'm looking at the brackets, and there's a lot of familiar names that are not in the playoffs.
I think you look at teams like Henderson missed the playoffs, Melissa missed the playoffs, a number of big-time programs
Cedar
across
Hill
the
was
state
a
of
regional finalist last year, missed the playoffs.
Missed the playoffs. They're very good ball clubs that are going to be sitting at home that will not have their names read here on this bracket reveal show. It is, of course, a wild and woolly 6 weeks to the Texas High School football state championship games at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. We'll have you covered every step of the way at TexasFootball.com/playoffs. But we know what you're here for. You're here for the 2024 UIL Texas High School football playoff brackets. We will unveil the Class 6A brackets coming up after this very short break.
first, it was just a team. Now I can't imagine my life without them.
That coach changed our son, on the field and off.
Texas coaches, Coach Brackle here from First Down Playbook. After 25 years as a Texas high school football coach, I understand the time, energy, and commitment it takes to compete at your level. First Down Playbook was created by coaches for coaches to help you vertically line your total program. 1 week free team membership for all Texas high school and college coaches. Let First Down Playbook help give you that winning edge.
Back here on the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Playoff Bracket Reveal Show presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. Enough waiting. The playoffs have arrived in Texas. We will unveil the brackets starting with the largest classification, Class 6A, and we'll start in the largest division, Class 6A Division 1. Let's throw it over to the two of the other members of our team, Mallory Hartley and Carter Yates.
Carter, I gotta ask you, are you ready to reveal some brackets?
Well, I don't know. Is the Pope Catholic? I haven't checked my watch, but I think it's playoff time.
I think you're exactly right. We won't make you wait any longer. So starting off with the big dogs of 6A Division 1 in Region 1, El Paso Eastlake taking on Odessa Permian up there at the top. North Crowley taking on Byron Nelson. Campbell versus Prosper. Lake Highlands taking on South Grand Prairie. Midland Legacy versus El Paso Franklin. Euless Trinity versus Mansfield. Allen versus Louisville. And Haltom versus Richardson. That rounds out 6A Division 1, Region 1. Third over to you to Region 2.
I'll take it away for Region 2. We got Saxe versus Rockwall. Duncanville versus Temple. The Woodlands versus Aldine Nimitz. Klein Cain, Cypress Ranch. North Forney taking on Wiley. Waco Midway facing Waxahachie. Aldine Davis facing Conroe. And Cypress Bridgeland versus Klein Oak.
And flipping over to the other side of the bracket in 6A Division 1, it's Region 3 at the top there. Cy Falls versus Houston Bel Air. Katy versus A-Leaf Elsick. Ridge Point taking on Pasadena Dobie. North Shore versus Deer Park. Houston Lamar versus Cy Fair. Fulshire versus Katy Pato. Pearland versus Fort Bend Travis. And down there at the bottom, Dickinson versus Atascocita. Carter, round us out in 6A Division 1.
All right, let's take it away for the final largest classification, 6A D1, Round Rock versus Lake Travis. San Antonio Johnson versus San Antonio Taft. San Antonio East Central versus Laredo United South. Weslaco versus San Benito. Austin Westlake versus Cedar Park Vista Ridge. San Antonio Brennan versus San Antonio Reagan. Laredo United versus Buda Johnson. And Los Fresnos versus Edinburgh Economides.
So there you go, the full 6A Division 1 bracket, the big dogs. Step and Step, take it away. What makes it so interesting this season?
It is a fascinating bracket. 6A Division 1 is popping the largest classification there, Matt Stepp. A lot of the highest profile programs in the state of Texas will be duking it out in this 64-team bracket. What really stands out to me, obviously Region 3 is going to be where a lot of the focus is paid because of the strength of the Houston area, but I think there are legit state championship contenders in all four regions.
Absolutely. I mean, you've got a powerhouse in each region, but each of those powerhouses has some landmines they have to navigate. I really like Region 1. I think Region 1, North Crowley, the last year's champion, comes in as the favorite, but definitely not a cakewalk for them to get to the regional, to the state semifinals, having to go through teams like Campbell or Prosper, Allen, a surging Louisville ball club, and a very under-the-radar Trinity Trojans team that's 9-1 on the year with their only loss to South Lake Carroll.
One of the things that you get in 6A Division 1 and in 6A because of the division split is you kind of get to the good stuff quickly. There's some big, high-profile first-round matchups there. I'm really interested in Klein Cain versus Cy Ranch down there in Region 2. I think that is a game that's maybe flying under people's radar. Fulshire, and Fulshire's a team that I think is going to be flying under the radar, but when you take a look at Region 3, a lot of it, the focus is going to be paid on the team that played for a state championship last year there in North Shore, opening up with Deer Park. They could have to walk a path where they play Deer Park, Ridge Point, Katy, and potentially a rematch with a team like Atascocita.
Yeah, it's a brutal run for North Shore. The way the brackets fell this year, really, really tough. But Willie Gaston's ball club is used to running that gauntlet. They'll be in the mix. And then, I think look at Region 4. Obviously, Austin Westlake's the favorite. But I think there's some potential landmines there with a really good team like San Antonio Brennan, a surging Johnson ball club. And you've always got to keep an eye on Lake Travis, their rivals.
Of course, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the reigning, two-time defending 6A Division I state champion Duncanville Panthers. Just lurking there, hanging out, number one in the state.
Nobody's talking about us. We're number one.
Nobody's going to talk about them. But there they go. Their draw. They're taking on Temple in the first round. Then a matchup with either Saxe or Rockwall, two high-powered offenses.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There. I will say that I think that Region 2 still probably goes through Duncanville,
100%.
certainly, with the back-to-back state championships. But I will say that Region 2, I don't think is a walkover here for the Panthers. They're going to have to earn their way out.
Yeah, Waxahachie played Duncanville tough in district play. And keep an eye on Bridgeland. Up front, they've got 2 Power 5 offensive linemen and 2 really good quarterbacks. Keep an eye on the Bridgeland Maximum Bears.
6A Division 1. Of course, you can find all the brackets at texasfootball.com/playoffs. But what about the other 6A bracket, 6A Division 2? To unveil the 6A Division 2 bracket, let's go over to our friends Mallory Hartley and Greg Powers.
Powers, you ready?
Let's do this.
Let's do it. Starting off in 6A Division 2 Region 1, there at the top, it's El Paso Pebble Hills taking on Midland. Crowley taking on Justin Northwest. Dengeyer taking on McKinney. Then down there we got Richardson Pierce taking on Arlington. And can I say K-I-C-K-E-M, kick 'em Colts, kick 'em. Wolfforth Friendship taking on El Paso Montwan. South Lake Carroll down here taking on Mansfield Legacy. Prosper Rock Hill versus Hebron. And down there at the very bottom of 6A Division 2 Region 1, it's Arlington Bowie taking on Dallas Jesuit. Powers, take it away. Region 2.
Good job there with Arlington, Mal. 6A Division 2 Region 2. Wiley East versus Forney. The defending state champs, DeSoto versus Colleen Shoemaker. Willis versus Spring. You got Tomball matching up with Cy Springs. Longview versus Naaman Forest. Harker Heights versus Lancaster. Spring Westfield versus College Park. And rounding it out in Region 2, Cy Woods versus Klein Collins.
Let's switch over to the other side of the bracket of 6A Division 2. It's Region 3. They're up there at the top. It's Houston Stratford taking on Houston Westside. Katie Jordan taking on Richmond Foster. Fort Bend Hightower versus Manville. And Summer Creek versus Clear Falls. Houston Heights taking on Houston Memorial. Strake Jesuit versus Katy Tompkins. Shadow Creek versus Fort Bend Elkins. And to round out Region 3, we've got Clear Springs taking on Kingwood. Powers, round it out for us. Region 4.
Out in Region 4, I think it's a wide open race. Austin Vandegrift versus Austin High. San Antonio Churchill versus San Antonio Sotomayor. Cibolo Steel versus Laredo Alexander. PSJA versus Harlingen. Dripping Springs versus Round Rock Manil. San Antonio Harlan, you got facing San Antonio Clark. Medina Valley versus New Braunfels Canyon. And Brownsville Veterans Memorial versus Edinburgh. Tough bracket right there.
Man, yeah, the 6A Division 2 region, the whole bracket is going to be fantastic. Tep and step, what catches your eye in 6A Division 2?
Yeah, of course, a lot of attention is paid, Matthew, especially in the final couple of weeks of the regular season, to which teams go Division 1 and Division 2. We finally have our answer. I look at this bracket, I'm not sure I could identify a particular region that is the power nexus. Division 1, we talked about Region 3 kind of being the focus. I look at all 4 of them. I think they're pretty balanced, and I think we could be in for some surprises here. I do look at Region 2. The 2-time defending champs, DeSoto, live there. But this feels like a souped-up Region 2 that could challenge the 2-time defending champ Eagles.
The region is stronger than it has been in the past. Absolutely. You look at a team like Wiley East, who gave DeSoto, in my opinion, other than South Lake Carroll, their toughest game in the playoffs last year. They won't be scared of DeSoto. Willis, losing DJ Lagway. I think Willis is a better overall team this year than they were last year because they're stronger at all the other positions this year. Jermaine Bishop is the Travis Hunter of Texas high school football. He's unbelievable. Longview, that running game, defense in the running game travels in the playoffs when it gets cold. If it ever gets cold, keep an eye on the Lobos. And then you look at a team like Cy Woods, who's kind of a sleeper in the Houston area and nobody's talking about them. They're a dangerous team as well.
I look at Region 1. If there's a region where I think there's a clear favorite, in my opinion, I would look at Region 1 with a team like South Lake Carroll. This is a team that has looked the part, 10-0. Riley Dodge has done an unbelievable job with that program. They look like the favorite there in Region 1. A couple of landmines there, including upstarts like Prosper, Rock Hill, and a Denton Geyer team that when they play to their paper is certainly capable of beating anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Geyer in the trenches is really good. I got my eyes out in Region 1 on a couple of teams out in West Texas who get things done offensively in different ways. You've got Friendship with that dynamic passing attack, 2 outstanding Division I receivers and an elite quarterback who puts up huge numbers. And you've got Midland High, the Bulldogs, running that option with UTEP commit Elijah McCoy at running back, putting up huge numbers in the ground. They're 2 kind of sleeper, intriguing teams to keep an eye on.
Region 3, the Houston area, you know, and there have been times where it feels like Region 3 is kind of the leftovers of who's not there in Division 1, in the Division 1 bracket. But with a team like Summer Creek, yes, they've got the 2 losses, although to 2, you know, elite programs in Atascocita and Summer Creek. But between them, between Shadow Creek, who's playing exceptionally well right now, and a couple of other programs there like Fort Bend Hightower, I think we're in for a really fun Region 3. Absolutely.
Summer Creek's the favorite, but they're not going to have a cakewalk by any means. Keep an eye on Katy Jordan. 9-1 on the year. They're 1 losses by 10 in a very competitive game to Katy. I think Summer Creek's the favorite, but I like Katy Jordan, led by wide receiver Andrew Marsh, the Michigan commit.
Down to Region 4, I think that you take a look at Austin, which has had San Antonio's number of late, but could this be the year that a San Antonio team breaks through? I look at a team like Cibolo Steel. The talent is there. Unbelievable amount of talent.
Sure.
But there are Austin area squads like Vandergrift, like Dripping Springs, that could have their number if they were to slip up.
Yeah, Steel offensively is as talented as anyone in the state. The question with Steel is going to be in the trenches. Can they hold up? Their one big test this year in the trenches against Austin Westlake, they got kind of handled. Have they made those adjustments since that non-district loss? I think Steel comes in as the favorite in Region 4, but a slip-up could end an early playoff exit.
It's 6A Division 2. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have you covered every step of the way at TexasFootball.com. Speaking of which, go to TexasFootball.com/playoffs. That is where you can find all the things you need for the 2024 Texas High School Football Playoffs, presented by our friends at Dick's Sporting Goods. Scan that QR code. They put a camera on your phone for a reason. Printable brackets, predictions, game times and locations, and more. Sleepers, recruits to watch. Tons of information. TexasFootball.com/playoffs. All right. That is 6A. That's a wrap on that. Let's move on to Class 5A. And in 5A Division 1, the bracket about to be revealed in the capable hands of Greg Powers and Carter Yates.
We got what you're looking for, guys. 5A Division 1, Region 1. It's El Paso, El Dorado versus Amarillo. Fort Worth, Arlington Heights facing off against Richland. Lubbock, Monterey versus El Paso, Bel Air. Denton Ryan versus Fort Worth, Pascal. Aledo versus Chisholm Trail. Abilene versus El Paso, Parkland. Saginaw taking on Azle. El Paso Americas versus Amarillo, Tascosa. And that sends us over to Region 2 and Carter Yates.
Taking a look over at Region 2, if you're paying attention to the Heisman race right now, Ashton Gente's alma mater, Frisco Lone Star, takes on Dallas White. It's the Michael Quintero Bowl, Cedar Park versus Red Oak. Then West Mesquite 10-0 faces McKinney North. Midlothian versus Lake Belton. Highland Park takes on Leander Rouse. Carrollton Smith versus Frisco Wakeland. Georgetown versus Burleson Centennial. And Frisco Reedy versus Carrollton Creekview.
Over here in Region 3, we got Lufkin facing off against Houston. Milby, College Station taking on Crosby. You have Galena Park versus PA Memorial and a very talented defense led by Tank King. Angleton taking on Pflugerville Weiss. LaPorte versus Austin Anderson and TCU commit Ed Small. Houston Sterling versus Barbers Hill. A&M Consolidated versus Friendswood out in College Station, A&M Consolidated. And Galveston Ball versus Houston Waltrip.
And wrapping it up here with Region 4, we got a San Antonio Bowl. San Antonio Piper versus San Antonio Southwest Legacy. McAllen Memorial versus Corpus Christi Flower Bluff. San Antonio Southwest versus Seguin. Corpus Christi Veterans Memorial versus Mission. PSJA North. And PSJA North will be playing La Jolla Palmview. San Antonio J versus New Braunfels. Edinburgh Villa versus Harlingen South. Smithson Valley versus South San Antonio. And that'll wrap it up for 5A D1. Let's kick it over to Tep and Step to talk this one out.
All right, so let's take a look at 5A Division 1. And, of course, I think the name to know here is obviously Aledo. 5A Division 1, two defending state champs, 12-time state champion are the Aledo Bearcats. Mm-hmm. This is a program that is the most decorated program in Texas high school football. The only question is, can anybody slow them down?
I think there are some teams in Region 1 who can give Aledo some trouble, namely Denton Ryan and Richland. In their own district, Richland took Aledo to overtime. Denton Ryan, for a half, dominated Aledo. Now, Aledo came back in the second half and put things on them, but this is not an invincible Aledo team by any means. I think they're the favorite. However, Denton Ryan and Richland are teams to keep an eye on who have played Aledo tough and will give them a challenge.
I'll also say this. I know you're an Abilene guy. You like Abilene.
I do love Abilene. The injuries are a little bit of a concern going into this one. If you're looking for a sleeper out west, Lubbock Monterey, they beat Abilene High late in the year. Judd Thrash's ball club has got things going, and don't count out El Paso El Dorado, 10-0 on the year. If you haven't heard the name, running back Ray Estrada is a dude to watch. He puts up big numbers.
5A Division 1 Region 2 is a fascinating region, specifically because of some of the names you know, right? Frisco Lone Star, Highland Park, those are brand names, but I am drawn to a lot of the names that you may not know, okay? What about West Mesquite? The Wranglers, I think Steven Jackson's maybe the 5A Coach of the Year this year. What he's done there has been unbelievable to start the year. That's a fantastic first-round matchup with McKinney North. You look at a team like Georgetown, okay? Jet Walker, their running back.
Huge numbers.
I think he's the hottest player in the state right now.
He runs for 200 yards in his sleep. He's always putting up huge numbers. He had another huge, I think he's run for 400 yards in a game this year. Georgetown's offense is an absolute flamethrower. They're going to be a team to watch. West Mesquite, very, very talented. Strength of schedule is a little bit of a concern. If they can get through that first-round playoff game, I think Steven Jackson's ball club could be a real problem.
5A Division 1 Region 3, a quick look over here. This is going to be focused specifically on, I think, the Brazos Valley. You take a look at a place like College Station and A&M Consolidated. They played an absolute war, like 8 weeks ago. What happens if they play again in a regional final? That is fascinating, but you keep an eye on other programs. Lufkin playing their best football right now, and I know you look at Galveston Ball. That's a nicked up ball club right now. Jonah Williams has not played the past couple of weeks. We don't know his status quite yet for the playoffs. What does that mean? And then I know you are high on Pflugerville Weiss.
Yeah, two close losses this year. They've got a freshman quarterback who's not a freshman anymore. He started 10 games. They're going to be in the mix. The two College Station schools, obviously. I think Ball, if they had Jonah Williams, would be a real threat. I just think they're a little bit limited. I'm a big Lufkin guy as well. I like what the Panthers are bringing to the table. Todd Quick's ball club is a powerhouse. LaPorte also, another team. Kevin Bernitti's ball club is white hot right now.
To round it out, 5A Division 1 Region 4. You take a look down there. Corpus Christi has long been is kind of the center here. But, you take a look at Corpus Christi Veterans Memorial. They had that thrilling win over Flower Bluff to close out the regular season and really turn that district up on its head. Flower Bluff goes from winning the district to having to go to McAllen in the first round of the playoffs to take on a tricky Memorial team. Keep an eye on that. But, of course, you do have the team that played in a state championship game a year ago, the Smithson Valley Rangers, lurking at the bottom of the bracket.
Yeah, I think the power in this region was down in Corpus Christi last 2 years. I think it's back in San Antonio this year with Smithson Valley. And the team that beat Smithson Valley in the regular season, San Antonio Piper. You have a team like San Antonio J, who went 3 rounds deep in 6A last year. 10-0 San Antonio Southwest is also going to be a real challenge. And I still think you got to keep an eye on PPR, PSJ North, the Raiders. They 9-1 on the year, a close loss to Flower Bluff by 1 point on the road. They're going to be a problem because of the physical style that they play.
Pride Passion Raiders down there with PSJA North. It's the 5A Division 1 bracket. We're going to have you covered every step of the way at TexasFootball.com. It gives way to the 5A Division 2 bracket, which may be home to some of the most passionate fan bases in all of Texas high school football. And here to tell those passionate fan bases exactly where they're heading, blame these people, Mallory Hartley and Carter Yates.
Man, you are so right. Some of the best matchup, I'd say, in all of 5A right here. 5A Division 2, Region 1. Starting off at the very top, it's El Paso Del Valle versus Abilene Cooper. Lovejoy, led by wide receiver Dalen McCutcheon and recent Texas commit, taking on Mansfield Timberview. Abilene Wiley taking on El Paso Andres. Colleyville Heritage versus Anna. Argyle, the very tough offensive line, taking on Frisco Emerson. Wichita Falls Memorial taking on El Paso Chapin. Walnut Grove taking on a hello Arlington Seguin, a very talented Arlington Seguin squad. And to round out Region 1 down there, it's Canutillo taking on Lubbock Cooper. What do we got in Region 2, Carter?
Well, South Oak Cliff has been to 3 state championships, and they'll face Terrell to start this one off in this playoff round. Then we have Huntsville versus White House, Midlothian Heritage versus Seagoville, Marshall versus Montgomery, Texarkana, Texas High. Nederland's got to travel over 4 hours to get to Texarkana, and they got a 10-0 team to face off. Crandall versus Dallas Wilson, Port Neches Grove versus Hallsville, the defending champs, Port Neches Grove, and Dallas Hillcrest versus Kaufman.
All right, let's check out the right side of the bracket in 5A Division 2. In Region 3 up there at the top, it's Richmond Randall taking on Belton, San Antonio Jefferson versus Elgin, Brenham versus Texas City. We got Liberty Hill versus San Antonio Houston, Bastrop versus San Antonio Lanier, Waco University. Man, we got to see that squad in person this year. Very talented, taking on another talented squad in Fort Bend Marshall. San Antonio Burbank taking on Pflugerville. And to round out Region 3, down there at the very bottom, it's Iowa Colony taking on Killeen Ellison. Round us out, Carter.
Let's take it on home in Region 4. We got Alamo Heights led by Michael Terry facing off against Corpus Christi Ray, Mercedes versus Mission Sherryland, Corpus Christi Miller versus Kerrville Tybee, Mission Sherryland Pioneer versus Brownsville Lopez, Alice versus Brownsville Pace, Gregory Portland versus Victoria West, Ed Couch Elsa versus Mission Veterans Memorial, and Bernie taking on Corpus Christi Carroll. I mean, what a loaded bracket this is. Tepper and Step, take it away, guys. Walk us through these matchups.
5A Division 2. It's going to be a wild ride here in the 5A Division 2 bracket. One of them that I think I'm most excited about here, and let's start with Region 1. It does feel pretty... a number of different teams could come out of this region. You've got Argyle, who started, I think, as the early favorite to win Region 1. They have looked fantastic. But I think there are 2 teams that have come on hot of late that I think you would be very silly to overlook. One of them's Lovejoy, led by Todd Dodge, one of the greatest coaches in Texas high school football history. And what about Prosper Walnut Grove?
What a story. Led by a freshman quarterback. They have posted a 9-1 record, including wins over Carrollton Smith, who's a 5A D1 playoff team that went 8-2, and Lovejoy. Walnut Grove is a really, really strong team. Region 1 is deeper than it's been in the past. Aside from those teams, I think El Paso Del Valle is an excellent team with Jake Fetty at quarterback. You've got Abilene Wiley, who's been outstanding, Colleyville Heritage, and Anna. What a first-round matchup that is. Colleyville Heritage and Anna in the first round of the playoffs. Wichita Falls Memorial is another team. And then you got Lubbock Cooper having to go on the road to El Paso in the first round of the playoffs. Just highlights the depth in Region 1 and 5A Division 2. It's deeper than it's ever been.
It's absolutely fantastic. Let's get to the fireworks factory, though. Region 2, so we've had it circled for 9 months since the realignment came out, and here's how it breaks down. My eyes immediately go to the bottom half of the bracket. Port Neches Groves, P&G, the defending state champs, of course, deserve the champion's advantage. I think they got put on the dirty side of the bracket, though, where they're going to have to deal with a team like an undefeated Texas High. Nederland beats P&G, loses their next 2 games, and now has to go to Texarkana to take on Texas High. South Oak Cliff, I think, got, as far as Region 2 is concerned, about as favorable a draw as you can reasonably expect, but there's no layups in this region. Yeah,
we were an overtime away from having possibly P&G and Sauk in the second round of the playoffs. Montgomery ended that. I'll tell you what, keep an eye on Huntsville. They are a dangerous team, a high ceiling team. When they're clicking on all cylinders, Huntsville can beat anyone. I think South Oak Cliff is still the favorite in this region. However, Region 2 is much tougher than it has been in the past. The Golden Bears will have to bring their A game every week in the playoffs because this region is tough.
Over to Region 3, where if you are looking for, you've got kind of 2 choices in my mind. You can either go with the old standby here, a team like Liberty Hill, which did lose their district championship game last night to upstart Bastrop. Congratulations to the Bears. They're a team to keep an eye on there, but I would say that there's 2 relative newcomers at the top and the bottom of this region. Richmond Randall with the superstar sophomore running back Landon Williams-Callis, one of the most complete teams in Texas high school football, or at the bottom, the Pioneers of Iowa Colony.
Yeah, Randall and Iowa Colony played in the regular season. Randall knocked them off 30-10. That was Randall's closest game of the year. They have been absolutely dominant. In my opinion, they enter the playoffs as the favorite in Region 3. If you're looking for some sleepers, though, I think Brenham, led by super sophomore Jacoby Dixon, is a team to keep an eye on. Bastrop, you mentioned with their win over Liberty Hill to close the regular season out. And what a first-round matchup in Waco Thursday night. Waco University and Fort Bend Marshall. If you're a recruiting guy like Greg Powers or Mike Roach, you're going to be at this game. These are big-time talents at this game.
Speed on display there. Finally, Region 4. You take a look here. There's a couple of, I think there's big-time playmakers in Region 4. Specifically, Michael Terry there at Alamo Heights. I love what they bring on the offensive side for Corpus Christi Miller. The offense has been humming. And then I think Bernie starting to get their legs underneath them. Quarterback Hank Hendricks has been playing better and better as the season has gone on. I think Region 4, the power nexus is at the top of that region, and I think we could be heading for a regional semifinal between Alamo Heights and Miller.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Bernie's got a pretty good draw that they can get to the regional final. I think Bernie has something that the rest of the teams in this region don't have, and that's size and depth in the trenches. That's what the Greyhounds rely on. It's what they were really good at when they went to their state championship game a couple of years ago in 4A Division I. They bring that to the table this year.
Absolutely. So there it is, 5A Division 1, or 5A Division 2, rather. The bracket is revealed here on Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight playoff bracket reveal show presented by our friends at Dick's Sporting Goods. Hey, perhaps you're wondering, how could I watch like dozens of these live Texas high school football games? Well, I've got great news for you. Streaming every week at the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Playoffs. You can find them on TexanLive.com. Hundreds of live Texas high school football playoff games there by becoming a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber. Go to TexanLive.com or TexasFootball.com/subscribe. Scan that QR code. You can watch dozens and dozens of live Texas high school football playoff games every single week as we march towards AT&T Stadium. It is the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Playoff Bracket Reveal Show presented by our friends at Dick's Sporting Goods. We're on to Class 4A, where the 4A Division I bracket has got plenty of firepower in it, and here to tell us about it are Greg Powers and Mallory Hartley.
Thanks, guys. We're going to get right to it here. 4A D1 Region 1, El Paso Austin versus Dumas, Lampasas versus Pecos, Canyon West Plains versus Clint. You have Big Spring taking on Brownwood, Andrews versus Burnett, Canyon Randall versus El Paso Isleta, Stephenville versus San Angelo Lakeview, El Paso Riverside taking on Hereford.
Let's move on down here to Region 2. Springtown taking on River Oaks Castleberry. Dallas Carter taking on Sulphur Springs there. Alvarado, very talented Alvarado squad taking on Fort Worth Eastern Hills. You got Frisco Panther Creek taking on Dallas Pinkston. Salina taking on Wilmer Hutchins. That'll be a fun one. Kennedale taking on Fort Worth Southwest. Dallas Kimball versus Aubrey. And down there at the bottom to round out Region 2, it's Decatur taking on Carrollton Ranchview. Let's flip it over to the other side.
Let's take a look at Region 3 here. You have Kilgore taking on Vidor, Needville taking on Houston Fur, Little Cypress Mauriceville taking on Lindell, Houston Yates versus Navasota, Houston Worthing versus Fort Bend Crawford, Huffman Hargrave taking on Tyler Chapel Hill, who made it to AT&T Stadium 1 year ago. Stafford versus Houston Wheatley, and Longview Pine Tree versus Bridge City.
And let's round out 4A Division 1 with Region 4, starting off strong with Austin LBJ. Welcome back to 4A D1 versus Fredericksburg. Tolosa Midway versus Lavernia. San Antonio Davenport taking on Maynard New Tech. Port Lavaca Calhoun, the Sandcrabs, taking on Zapata. Bay City, the Black Cats, taking on Hidalgo. Canyon Lake taking on Austin Travis. Corpus Christi Cal Allen taking on El Campo. And then to round out 4A Division 1 Region 4, we've got Taylor taking on Somerset. What a loaded 4A Division 1 bracket. It's going to be a whole lot of fun, a whole lot of firepower there. Guys, what do y'all see?
It is going to be a whole lot of fun, in my opinion. Excellent analysis there, guys. A whole lot of fun. 4A Division 1 is going to be spectacular.
My favorite classification.
This is, you always say this. You say that when 4A rolls around, this is when you really, really get excited. And we'll take a look at Region 1 to begin with. Up here, Stephenville is kind of the team to beat, I would say, in what is suddenly a wide-ranging Region 1. I mean, Lampasas is going all the way over to play Pecos.
Yeah, those are two teams you don't usually see play in the first round of the playoffs. Pretty odd regional pairings there. I agree. I think Stephenville's the favorite, but Canyon West Plains, a team that can present some landmines. Andrews and that slot T offense. Jay Sean Barrow is an unbelievable running back. Slot T is the devil. Canyon Randall, another strong team out at the Panhandle. And then you have their district rival, Lampasas, who played Stephenville very tough in district play this year.
To Region 2 we go, where there are, if you're looking for playmakers, you have got playmakers in bunches all over there. Specifically, I look at Alvarado with Cartier Collier. I think one of the most electrifying players in Texas high school football. Absolutely terrific. But it's hard not to look at Salina and the rampage they have been on for this season. They have been, I think, arguably the most complete team in Texas high school football at any level, pound for pound. It'll be put to the test in a dangerous Region 2.
The schedule Salina played, they've got wins over Belleville, Waco, La Vega, Frisco, Panther Creek, Sulphur Springs, just to name a few. If you haven't seen junior quarterback Bo Bentley, he's must-see TV. He's going to have offers from all the big-time schools when it's said and done. They're the favorite. Love Cartier Collier. Not only does he have a cool name, but he's got a cool game. He makes things happen. And then I think, teams like Sulphur Springs, Frisco Panther Creek, even a sleeper team like Dallas Campbell, if they can get out of the first round of the playoffs, Campbell could be a real tricky matchup for a lot of teams as well.
Yeah, that's my mom's alma mater. Shout out to my mom. Hi, Mom. To Region 3, take a look here. East Texas and Houston collide here. This feels like a lot of teams with really high ceilings. I can see a lot of teams that they play to their paper making very, very deep runs. Kilgore, a team that when they've played to their paper has been one of the best teams in Texas high school football. Chapel Hill, when they've been healthy, they have been one of the best teams in the state. But they are playing a team, I would say, in the first round in Huffman-Hargrave that could give them a lot of trouble.
On the road as well. District 9 and District 10 agreed to have home-and-home flips, and so Chapel Hill's got to go down to the Houston area to take on Huffman. East Texas has dominated this region in the past. The question here is going to be, can a team from Southeast Texas or Houston make a run? I'm also looking at Houston ISD this year. I think this is the year the 4As in Houston ISD have a chance to break through. I think Worthing and Yates both have really good chances to get out of the first round of the playoffs, but in my opinion, if they play to their paper, the Kilgore Bulldogs are the team to beat this year.
I'd add another team in there in Longview Pine Tree. That's a team that has played exceptionally well at times. When they put it all together, they're extremely dangerous to play against. Meanwhile, down to Region 4, you mentioned Houston ISD. Let's talk about Austin ISD. Austin LBJ back in 4A and rolling right now. 10 perfect regular season. I think they got a relatively favorable draw, although a Davenport team could loom there in the regional semifinals. And at the bottom half of the bracket, I love this Bay City team. I think that what they've been able to do, and that win over El Campo, I think was such a huge boost for them. Can they carry that forward through the playoffs in what could be a really dynamic bottom half of that bracket?
Yeah, LBJ and Davenport won the region last year, so that's going to be a tough matchup, but Davenport's got a tough potential second-round matchup at Port Lavaca Calhoun. How about at the bottom of the bracket? Cal Allen at El Campo, brother versus brother. We've got Travis Reeve going against Charlie Reeve in the first round of the playoffs. I don't know if Mom's going to wear a half jersey or not, but that's going to be a la the Kelsey mom there. She have a half jersey with Cal Allen at El Campo there with her two sons coaching in that game.
Travis Kelsey and Charlie Reeve, exactly the same. I can't tell them apart. That's 4A Division 1. We are fired up to see who comes out of that wide open bracket. On to 4A Division 2 we go, which has been box office all year long, and one particular region I think has an opportunity to really steal the show. Let's go over to Carter Yates and Greg Powers of the 4A Division 2 bracket.
Boy, I can't wait to hear his breakdown on that one, Carter, try to get the insight on who's coming out of 4A D2 this year. Let's not waste any time. Let's get to Region 1. Midland Greenwood versus Border, Benbrook versus Mineral Wells, Lubbock Estacado versus Fort Stockton, Brock versus Godley, Graham versus Fort Worth Dunbar, Perryton versus Monahans, Glen Rose versus Eagle Mountain, and Seminole versus Levelland for the homie.
I'm going to keep trying to guess which region it is that Tepper's talking about, but we're going to Region 2 right now. Van Alstyne versus Ferris, Athens versus Van, Sunnyvale takes on Caddo Mills, and then this one's a big matchup, Gilmer versus Center, Texarkana Pleasant Grove against Bullard, Canton versus Farmersville, and then Carthage with the head coach quarterback duo Scott Surratt and Jed Surratt. Longview taking on Longview Spring Hill, and rounding it out in Region 2, we got Crum versus Quinlan Ford.
Out in Region 3, you got Hampshire Finette taking on Lamarck, Robinson versus Sealy, West Columbia taking on Jasper, Madisonville versus Gatesville, Belleville versus Waco Conley. Of course, Belleville was in AT&T Stadium last year. Brookshire Royal versus Silsbee. Waco La Vega is taking on LaGrange, and the hot West Orange Stark taking on Sweeney.
And finishing it off here in Region 4, Wimberley versus Pearsall, Kingsville versus Rockport Fulton, and then we have Carrizo Springs versus Geronimo Navarro, and then Cuero versus La Feria, Sinton versus Rio Grande City Grella, Divine versus Salado, Port Isabel versus Ingleside, and Lago Vista versus Bandera. All right, Tepper, what's the big box office region?
Well, it could be any number of these regions here as you take 4A Division 2. I'm particularly interested in Region 2, but we'll talk about Region 1 to begin with. You take a look at what's up there. Brock, the newcomer there in 4A, has looked the part, except for the team that's going to be on the opposite end of that bracket there. The Graham Steers have looked every bit the part of a state championship contender. I think the defense makes them a true state championship shortlister.
Yeah, Graham in the past has been known as an offensive juggernaut. They're playing great defense this year. I believe 6 shutouts on the year, including a 38-0 shutout over Brock in Week 10. About as impressive as it gets. But, Glen Rose has won the region back-to-back years. They still have Canyon Evans at quarterback, an explosive offense. Keep an eye on a couple of other teams out west in Seminole and Midland Greenwood, both at 9-1. Could be potential challenges as well. And shout out to Eagle Mountain High School getting to the playoffs in their first year of varsity football.
Benbrook Mineral Wells, really interesting first-round matchup. A Benbrook team that's been playing exceptionally well with a very highly athletic Mineral Wells ball club. Interesting ball game there. Meanwhile, to Region 2, I'm excited about Region 2. Of course, the state champion has come from here the past couple of years, obviously with Carthage and Gilmer living here. Carthage has looked absolutely terrific all year long. They've shook off that Week 1 loss to Kilgore and have gone on a tear. They've gotten better as each week has gone on. I will just say this. Gilmer, of course, the defending state champs there in 4A Division 2, a team that when they've played well, they've been very, very hard to beat. But maybe the hottest team in Texas is the Pleasant Grove Hawks.
Yeah, Pleasant Grove beat Gilmer by 17 a couple of weeks ago. They're playing great football at the right time. A very young team. Josh Gibson's ball club is young, but that program has learned how to win, and they're going to be a real problem here after Thanksgiving weekend. That potential third-round matchup, a rematch with Carthage from that classic third-round game last year. If you're looking for a sleeper, a team to dream on, keep an eye on Zach Harrell's Athens Hornets. They're playing good football as well. Tough first-round matchup against Van at Rose Stadium in Tyler.
Region 3, box office. I mean, holy cow. A ton of spectacular ball clubs. Hampshire Finette, of course, coming off of their district championship last night over West Orange Stark. They draw the number 1 seed there, but it's not like the road's very easy for them up there with West Columbia, Jasper, Madisonville at that top half of the bracket. But the bottom half of that bracket, that's nasty work. Matt Stepp, take a look at that with Belleville, the team that played for a state championship last year. Silsbee, a team with plenty of dynamic playmakers. Waco La Vega, a team that's playing their best football right now. And then West Orange Stark. This is a dangerous, very, very tough bottom half of that region.
I think Waco La Vega is a team that nobody's talking about that's playing maybe their best football at the right time. Bryson Rowland is a guy who puts up huge numbers for the Modoc Pirates. Coach Don Hyde, he's been there. He's done that. He knows how to win in the playoffs in December. Keep an eye on the La Vega Pirates.
Down to Region 4, I think a lot of this is going to be about can anybody dethrone Wimberley. This has been the team that has dominated Region 4 basically for the past half decade. What they have done, Doug Warren and company, they have been terrific every single year. But there may be a threat to the crown and blood on the throne because Sinton has looked terrific all year long, and I think they have an opportunity to go out there and win Region 4.
Yeah, I think Wimberley is probably comes in as a favorite, but I think Sinton has closed the gap. Jacoby Jones has been outstanding at the receiver spot. They've got a great quarterback with a lot of experience, a good running game, and they've got one of the most intense coaches in the state of Texas, Michael Troutman. If there's anybody who can get those Sinton Pirates fired up, it's Coach Troutman.
4A Division 2 promises to be an absolute electric factory in the Texas high school football playoffs, and we are so excited about it. Go to texasfootball.com/playoffs for all things Texas high school football playoffs with your brackets, your pairings, your predictions, everything you need. We're going to take a quick break here and then unveil the 3A, 2A, and 1A brackets here on the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Playoff Bracket Reveal Show presented by Dick's Sporting Goods.
first, it was just a team. Now I can't imagine my life without them.
That coach changed our son, on the field and off.
Texas coaches, Coach Brackle here from First Down Playbook. After 25 years as a Texas high school football coach, I understand the time, energy, and commitment it takes to compete at your level. First Down Playbook was created by coaches for coaches to help you vertically line your total program. 1 week free team membership for all Texas high school and college coaches. Let First Down Playbook help give you that winning edge.
Back here on the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Playoff Bracket Reveal Show presented by our friends at Dick's Sporting Goods. We're on to Class 3A, where 3A Division I might be the bracket I am most looking forward to as the playoffs arrive. And here to tell us about it, Mallory Hartley and Carter Yates.
And let's kick things off with the Region 1 of 3A Division I. Starting off at the top, it's Shallow Water versus Brownfield. Peaster versus Comanche. La Mesa taking on Amarillo River Road. Sweetwater versus Vernon. Tuscola Jim Ned versus Iowa Park. We got Denver City down there taking on Dalhart. Paradise versus Clyde. And to round out Region 1, we've got Birchland versus Kermit down there at the bottom. Region 2, Carter.
Well, Tepper said it's the bracket he is most excited about, and I see why. They play some good foosball in 3A D1. Mexia taking on Pilot Point. Texarkana, Liberty, ILU versus Commerce. Then we have Palmer versus Whitney. Winsboro versus Atlanta. Malakoff, the defending champions, led by quarterback Mike Jones, versus Tatum. Pottsboro versus Maypearl. Jefferson versus Mineola. And Grandview, the Zebras, taking on Whitesboro.
And flipping over to the other side of the bracket in Region 3, probably the most interesting region, I'd say, in all of 3A Division I. Starting off at the top there, it's Palestine Westwood taking on Hardin. Columbus, a very powerful Columbus squad led by Adam Schobel and Grayson Rigdon versus Cameron Yo. Orangefield versus Fairfield. We got Troy taking on Yoakum. Franklin running the slot T versus Hallettsville. East Chambers taking on Diboll. Hitchcock versus Little River Academy. A really fun matchup there. And to round out Region 3, you got Tig versus Cold Spring Oakhurst. Carter, round us out with Region 4.
Llano versus Crystal City. San Diego versus Orange Grove. Jordanton versus Marion. Goliad taking on Bishop. Edna versus Lyford. San Antonio Cole versus Ingram Moore. Rio Hondo versus London. And Universal City Randolph versus Cold Spring. That's a loaded bracket. Tepper, take it away. Tell us about it.
Yeah, this is pretty fun. I think that this is probably the bracket that if I had to pick one that I could only pay attention to, that is the 3A Division 1 might be it. We'll start in Region 1, which might be the quietest region here, I would say, overall, but maybe also the most wide open one there. You know, this is programs there like Sweetwater that have played very well for the course of the season. I look at Shallow Water at the top of that bracket as well. Bushland, hard to get a read on them because they were rolling and then had a bit of a head-scratching loss earlier a couple of weeks ago. I think Region 1 has an opportunity to be really wide open and maybe have a party crasher in the state semifinals.
Yeah, with Brock's departure to Class 4A, it's really opened things up. Shallow Water and Bushland, I think, are two teams to keep an eye on, but the teams out of the big country, Jim Ned, Sweetwater, and Comanche, all very, very good ball clubs as well. I'm really excited about Region 2.
Oh, man.
I mean, it starts with Mejia at the top of the bracket there, Liberty ILO, an outstanding ball club, Winsboro and Atlanta in the first round of the playoffs. You got Grandview and Jefferson. Oh, and by the way, there's this Malakoff who's got the state's longest winning streak and they're defending state champs.
Correct.
Loaded.
26 in a row there for Malakoff, but a first round matchup with Tatum. That's a Tatum team that was state ranked a couple of weeks ago.
That's a tricky first round matchup.
Absolutely, and Liberty ILO has played exceptionally well as well. Shout out to Mejia, a team that made sure to let us know that we picked them to miss the playoffs when they went out and won a district championship. Shout out to the Black Cats and Aaron Knowles Ball Club. They've been terrific. We got Malakoff and Winsboro round 1 There's a chance we get round 2, but both of them will have to navigate very tricky parts of their bracket.
Absolutely. I love Jefferson as well. Undefeated Ty Taylor in his first year there at Jefferson. What an unbelievable job the Jefferson Bulldogs, led by running back Cameron Williams, the UNLV commit.
He's terrific. Region 3 we go, where Columbus is the team that I think everybody's going to be has been talking about. That's the team with Adam Schobel. The playmakers they've got have been exceptional. But to get out to a state championship, they will have to navigate, I think, the top heaviest region in the bracket. You've got Hitchcock, who already has a win over them. That's a wounded Hitchcock team. They came out worse for the wear from that game.
Sure. Both teams were banged up in that game.
But Palestine Westwood has been playing well, even with all of the things swirling around that program.
Sure.
And, oh, yeah, there's a team that's played in the last 4 state championships, Matt Stepp, in Franklin.
And don't count out Yoakum as well. Region 3 is absolutely loaded, top to bottom. Columbus, though, you're right, has to navigate a really tough path. The thing about this region is going to be the key injuries for some of the top teams. Who's healthy, who's able to play come playoff time.
To Region 4 we go, and in Region 4, this is, I think, 2 teams really stand out to me. One of them is Edna. That's a team that has been absolutely rolling teams all year long. They look like the physical kind of team that could overpower this region. I think they enter as the favorite, but there are landmines here. Jourdanton has looked good. I think the San Diego team is underrated, and I look at a team like Llano at the top of the region that's playing exceptionally well, kind of like the days of yore.
Yeah, I think Edna's the team to beat. They've won the region the last 2 years, but I don't think they're just gonna cruise to a regional title and have possibly a third shot at Franklin. Goliad, their district rival, is going to be in the mix. Llano's been really good. Keep an eye on the guys from the Air Force Base, Universal City Randolph, the Rohawks. Elliot Ortiz's ball club is outstanding as well. And then you got Jourdanton, who's a team to watch as well. Very tough Region 4.
3A Division 1 promises to be exciting, and we will have you covered every step of the way at texasfootball.com/playoffs. That's only one of 12 UIL Texas High School football playoff brackets we are revealing here on the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Playoff Bracket Reveal Show, presented by our friends at Dick's Sporting Goods. Scan that QR code, texasfootball.com/playoffs, for everything you need for the playoffs. But enough yakking from me. Let's go back over to the big board and find out what the 3A Division 2 bracket is going to look like, courtesy of our friends Mallory Hartley and Greg Powers. It's Heart and Hustle.
It is Heart and Hustle.
I'm the hustle, though, right?
Yeah, I'm the heart.
You're the heart. Hey, we're in the thick of it now, right? 3A D2 Region 1. You got Canadian taking on Muleshoe, Coahoma versus Odessa Compass, Idalou versus Tulia, Alpine versus Stanton, Crane versus San Angelo Grape Creek, Littlefield versus Friona, Wall versus Anthony, and Childress taking on Slayton.
And to round out the left side of the bracket in 3 Division 2, Toller taking on Millsap. We got Blooming Grove versus Bells, Holiday versus Dublin, Blue Ridge versus Rice, Gunner versus Cedar Hill TLC, Wichita Falls City View taking on Clifton, Scurry Rosser taking on Leonard, and to round out Region 2, Brady versus Jacksboro down there at the bottom. Powers, let's go to the right side.
Out in Region 3, you're going to be having Grand Saline taking on Hooks. You got Woodville taking on ARP. DeKalb taking on Lone Oak. Troop versus Anderson Shiro. And then, of course, you got New Diana versus New Waverly. Dangerfield versus Gilmer Harmony. Newton versus West Rusk. That's an interesting matchup to me. Edgewood versus New Boston.
And let's close out 3A D2 with Region 4. You got Blanco versus Van Fleck, Santa Rosa taking on Catula, Tide Haven versus Thrall, Dilley versus Odom, Poth versus Hebronville, a very talented East Bernard squad taking on Rogers. You got George West taking on Stockdale, and to round out 3A Division 2, it's Lexington taking on Rice Consolidated. What a strong 3A Division 2 bracket. Of course, Gunner going for possibly their three-peat this year. Tep and Step, what do you see?
Yeah, I guess they'll probably field a football team with the Gunner Tigers.
They'll figure it out.
We'll get to them in a moment. We'll start with Region 1 there in 3A Division 2, where Canadian has won this region. I think it's 9 of the last 10 seasons, or 8 of the last 9 seasons, right? This does feel like a different Canadian team, though, and I wonder if Region 1 may have a newcomer. Specifically, I look at a team like Wall.
I'm going to play spoiler for my picks that are going to post on Monday.
Yeah.
I'm taking Wall to win this region. I think the Hawks are the team to beat. Canadian, just a little down this year. Defensively, they had some struggles. They're playing Muleshoe in the first round of playoffs. Now, Muleshoe's dealing with some key injuries as well. Muleshoe and Canadian played an absolute shootout in non-district. I think it was 74-67. So Muleshoe can play with Canadian if they're healthy. That's going to be the key. But I think Wall is the team to beat here in Region 1.
Speaking of teams to beat, let's go to 3A Division 2 Region 2, where there's a small program that you might have heard of, the Gunner Tigers, two-time defending state champs, and long the powerhouse here in Region 2. It's been a long time since somebody challenged them in Region 2. I will say there are teams with upside here, specifically a team they might see in the second round in Wichita Falls City View.
Yeah, City View is very athletic, very talented. Their only loss in district play was to a really good Holiday team. They'll be a challenge. I think a team like Holiday on the other side of the bracket could be tough. And hey, don't count out Toller. They're moving up from 2A Division 1, but they played for a state championship last year, and they're 9-1 on the year. So I think Region 2 across the board is better than it has been. I still think Gunner's the favorite, but I think the region gives a few more challenges to the Tigers.
Jacksboro, another team to keep an eye on. Very pointsy there with Cannon Valenzuela there out wide. To Region 3 we go, where there's a number of teams that, again, if you want to go chalky and like known commodities, there are things there for you. You can go with a team like Newton. You can go with a team like Dangerfield. Those teams have been, up and down through the course of the season, but I think Newton has really gotten their wheels back on. Or if you want to take a flyer on a program that hasn't necessarily played deep in the playoffs recently, how about New Diana? 10-0, an unbelievable job there by that program, or by that coaching staff and Jason Pitts. Or how about undefeated Grand Saline at the top of the bracket? I actually think they got a pretty favorable draw.
I agree. Joe Drenan's been there, done that when he was at Mineola, led them to a state championship. I 100% agree. I think New Diana and Grand Saline are two teams to really keep an eye on, aside from the Newtons and the Dangerfield's had some struggles this year. They got their wheels back on in district play, but I think New Diana and Grand Saline are really to keep an eye on. If you're looking to take another flyer, keep an eye on Woodville. That potential second round matchup, Woodville and Grand Saline, should be really juicy.
Region 4 we go. Down here in Region 4, one of the teams that I've been, you've got a team that played for a state championship last year in Tidehaven. Remember, there was Region 2 versus Region 4 in the title game last year. Tidehaven has been up and down, but I think that they are certainly a threat. But that bottom half of the bracket, I think, feels like the real power nexus here. Specifically, we could be careening headlong for a second round matchup between Poth and East Bernard.
Yeah, that a really good team could potentially be going home before Thanksgiving. That's really in Region 4, which is saying something. And then you look at Blanco. Nobody's really talking about Blanco. Jamie Dixon's ball club, they beat Lexington in the regular season. So there's good depth in this region as well. I do think Tidehaven, despite playing for a state championship, they're kind of flying under the radar. They got a big win over East Bernard to close the regular season out. David Lucio always lurking there for the Tigers.
He is. He knows how to coach him up this time of year. It's 3A Division 2, and we will have you covered every step of the way. TexasFootball.com, specifically TexasFootball.com/playoffs. It's where you can find playoff brackets, predictions, sleepers, everything you need, game matchups. If you want to know where these games are happening, TexasFootball.com/playoffs. Put it in your Palm Pilot. Go to TexasFootball.com/playoffs. That's 3A. On to 2A we go. And 2A Division 1. You may remember that last year, the Timpson Bears won the 2A Division 1 state championship. 2A Division 1 got a facelift and realignment, and a facelift as far as the season is concerned. And that adds a whole new ball game in the brackets. Let's check out the 2A Division 1 playoff bracket with Carter Yates and Greg Powers.
Still rocking and rolling right here, approaching 11:30 tonight. Texas high school football playoff season's here.
We're chugging
and I'm
along,
excited,
baby.
man. 2A Division 1, Region 1, Sunray versus Olton, Hawley versus Azona, Post versus Spearman. You got Christabel versus Anson, Reagan County versus Cisco, Abernathy versus Stinnett, West Texas, Stanford versus Sonora, and Panhandle versus New Home.
Well, this one went final about 10 minutes before we started recording. Whitewright gets in, and they'll play Hamilton. We have Frankston versus Italy, Tioga versus Bollinger, Dawson versus Cairns, Axtell taking on Cayuga, Wolf City versus Coleman, Mildred versus Rio Vista, and De Leon versus Alvord.
Out in Region 3, you got one of the favorites, Honey Grove, squaring off versus Elysian Fields, Hearn versus Timpson, Wascom versus Omaha Pewitt, Garrison versus Corrigan Camden, Shelbyville versus Jewett Leon, Beckville versus Bogota, Rivercrest, Centerville versus Joaquin, and Cooper taking on Big Sandy.
And I'll finish it off in Region 4. Marlin versus Holland. Not 1, not 2, but 3 Rivers versus Schulenburg. Mason versus Rosebud Lot. Weimar versus Santa Maria. Ganado versus Skidmore Tynan. San Saba versus Crawford. Refugio versus Kennedy. And Rizel versus Thorndale. Tep and Step, take it away in 2A D1.
Yeah, no thoughts at all in 2A Division 1.
Ho-hum.
Ho-hum, just, boring. Yeah, I am fired up, and it starts at the top. Region 1, the clear, in my opinion, power nexus in 2A Division 1 lies in Region 1. And Matt Stepp, we could be careening towards second round matchups of Sunray and Hawley and Stanford and Panhandle. Those are 4 top 10 teams that would be playing in the second stinking round of the playoffs.
It's just one unfortunate byproduct of realignment. It's unfortunate for those teams. It's great for us because we get regional final type matchups in the second round of the playoffs. Unbelievable matchups there. Sunray led by the incomparable Armando Lujan, but Stanford comes in 10-0, number 1 team in the state of Texas. They come in as a team to beat in Region 1. I'm actually going to see Sunray in the first round of the playoffs this year. I'm excited about it.
Look at you. What a hipster you are. Region 2. 2A Division 1, Region 2. I will just tell you this. 2A Division 1, Region 2, we had a talk on Tep and Step, our premium high school football podcast on TexasFootball.com, produced by VNA Moreno, that this is the bracket,
shout out Vams,
the region that we had the least understanding of before the season. Do you have a better understanding of it now?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Hamilton, Axtell, Wolf City, H.G. Davis, their running back is terrific.
Tioga.
How
about Mildred?
Mildred. Pick a name out of a hat. Honestly, 2A Division 1 Region 2 feels like the most wide open one. Hamilton, though, polishing off a perfect regular season, certainly worth keeping an eye on.
Yeah, I think this Region 2 may not have the name brand firepower, but I think it may be the most fun region to watch. I think we're going to get some great matchups of some good teams who have been off the radar, and I think and I love to see new blood make deep playoff runs. We're going to see it in Region 2.
To Region 3 we go. This is where the defending state champs live in Timpson, but it's a very different Timpson year for them. They, of course, had to win Friday night to clinch a playoff spot there, but they are in taking on Hearn in the first round of the playoffs. Honey Grove has been rolling along. I got to see Wascom in person. They are extremely athletic, really fun to watch. They're Garrison, a team that I think is lurking. I like this Beckville team as well. This is a region here in Region 3 that, with Timpson falling back to the pack, feels like there could be an infusion of new blood here.
I like Honey Grove. I think Honey Grove, if they can stay healthy, I think they've got the playmakers to get it done and win this region this year. They've been knocking on the door last year. In the last couple of years, it's slowly improving. This might be the year for the Warriors.
To Region 4, which is kind of the other power nexus of rather 2A Division 1. When you take a look here, obviously Refugio is a team to keep an eye on. The number 2 team in the state has been terrific this year. They've been hanging just big numbers on team, like eye-popping numbers.
Put a 91 spot up on Freer, I think, earlier this year.
A lot going on. Keep an eye on Mason, somehow flying under the radar. This is a team that has won, I believe, 14 consecutive district championships.
What a run they've had. The Punchers, in no Puncher Dome this year, yet they're still rolling. We can't wait to see the Puncher Dome rebuilt and new and improved, and the Punchers are going to be a team to watch at Region 4.
Of course, none of those teams won the region last year. You may remember the team that won the region last year was the preseason number 1 team in the state, the Ganado Indians, who they took a loss early, and I think they kind of fell off people's radar. Part of the reason, in my opinion, they took that loss was their quarterback, Bryce Ullman, was hurt.
Yes.
He's back. They're healthy, and I think they are on that very short list of regional contenders and state championship contenders.
They've been a wagon when they've had Bryce Ullman at the helm. I think they're the team to beat in Region 4. There's a lot of good teams here, but Ganado, defending regional champs, they were young last year. If they can, there's a lot of caveats here about staying healthy. But it's Class 2A football. It happens, but they can stay healthy. They're the team to beat.
Speaking of Class 2A football, and speaking of needing to stay healthy, there's not a ton of depth in 2A Division 2. These are the smallest UIL 11-man Texas high school football programs, but they play some of the biggest brands of football across the state of Texas. Let's check out the 2A Division 2 playoff bracket with Mallory Hartley and Carter Yates.
Carter, let's close out 11-man. You ready?
Let's do it.
Starting off with 2A Division II, Region 1 up there at the top. It's Groover versus Morton. Ira Ann taking on Seagraves. Hale Center versus Bovina. Tahoka taking on El Dorado. Ropesville versus Sterling City. Sudan down there taking on Farwell. Wink taking on Sundown. And to close out Region 1, we got Stratford, the Elks, taking on Crosbyton.
2A D2 Region 2, Wellington versus Petrolia, Collinsville taking on Roscoe, Windthorst versus Quanah, Miles versus Lindsay, Albany versus Era, Archer City versus Shamrock, Munster versus Hamlin, and finishing it out here in Region 2, Wheeler versus Electra.
Let's flip it over to the other side of the bracket with Region 3. We've got Maud versus Goldthwaite. West Sabine taking on Grapeland. We got the powerful Mart Panthers taking on Cumbie. Overton versus Evadale. Lovelady taking on West Hardin. Bremond versus Sims Bowie. Deweyville taking on Mount Enterprise. And close out Region 3, we've got Clarksville down there taking on Wortham. Close out 11-man, Carter.
Last 11-man region, here we go. Somerville versus Dehanis. We were just watching that one close before we started this. Ben Bolt versus Yorktown. Junction versus Iola. Falls City versus Agua Dulce. Shiner taking on Woodsboro. Bracketville, speaking of brackets, versus Burton. La Villa versus Louise. And Granger versus La Pryor is your last 11-man game. Let's take it away, Tep and Step.
Yeah, they even at the smallest schools in 11-man football, they play some big-time ball there. And 2A Division II, I think we may be in for, I don't know, I think I'm ready to declare that this is going to be a different year in 2A Division II and maybe a changing of the guard. We'll start in Region 1. In Region 1, there's a couple of teams that really jump out to me. One of them in particular, there in 2A Division II, Region 1. I love what this Wink team has put together. It feels like they've reloaded on the fly, and now in the second round, they could be staring down Stratford. I mean, it's just the way that the bracket falls with Wink playing Stratford in the second round feels that's a regional final quality.
Absolutely. Stratford, don't look that 6-3 record. Don't let it fool you. They're Bryce Braden. If he's healthy, Stratford can be a real dangerous team. They were a regional champion in Division I a year ago. So keep an eye on the Stratford Elks. I love what Groover's done this year, 10-0 with a win over Stratford. They've been outstanding. And then if you're looking for a kind of a team to dream on, keep an eye on Hale Center, 9-1 on the year. They've got a pretty good draw to the third round of the playoffs. Yeah, I think they can get there.
The Owls have been terrific. To Region 2 we go, and this is where the two-time defending champs reside here in Albany. And we wondered what this Albany Lions team was going to look like with Adam Hill. It feels like there have been fits and starts. I think they're playing their best football now, but here's the problem, in my opinion. I think Region 2, I think this is the strongest Region 2 we have seen in years.
It's loaded. Wellington, Collinsville, Windthorst, Archer City, who's gotten healthy after a 63-0 win over Electra a couple weeks ago. And then I think my personal regional favorite, Brady Kearney's Munster Hornets. This is a really deep region.
I thought that Munster win over Collinsville told me a ton about whether or not the Hornets have got that dog in them, and I'm pretty sure they do.
Love teams that have that dog in them.
To Region 3 we go, and of course a team that has dominated Region 3 and was number 1 in the state, spoiler alert for the final rankings on Monday, was the Mart Panthers. Cruising along, looking good, had the one loss in the year to
Whitney,
a
381 team.
381 team, no shame in that. And then they go and they get absolutely launched into the sun by Goldthwaite. They still win their district, but it's got me questioning everything in Region 3. Specifically, Matt Stepp, is Lovelady going to win Region 3?
I think they could. That Mart loss to Goldthwaite might be the most puzzling loss of the regular season, regardless of classification. I just don't get it.
Yeah. It is fascinating, and suddenly with one game in Week 11, it feels wide open. Don't get me wrong. I think Mart could absolutely still win the region. If that was just a one-off thing, they get their wheels back on. But certainly, it is something to keep an eye on. Finally, down in Region 4, it's a new-look Region 4 in 2A Division 2. Specifically, for years and years, it felt like it was Falls City's region to lose. Now they have a new region bunkmate and district bunkmate in the Comanches of Shiner, who are absolutely rolling right now. And quite frankly, again, to spoil our predictions show on Monday, they're my pick to win Region 4.
Yeah, Shiner played a really tough non-district schedule against bigger schools. Their record isn't that pretty, but they've been getting it done. Keep an eye on Junction. I really like what they've done this year. A veteran ball club could be a team to watch. And then if you're looking for a team that's kind of off the radar, how about Somerville? The Jaguars having one of their best seasons in school history this year at 9-1 going into the playoffs.
Yes, the Jaguars are absolutely rolling. And if you're interested in what a Yegua is, it's Spanish for horse. Do you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, there you go. Shout out Somerville. That's 2A Division II. That rounds out the all 10 11-man brackets. Don't worry, we're getting to the 6-man brackets here in a moment, but I want to remind you to go to TexanLive.com so that you can stream live Texas high school football playoff games all throughout the playoffs at TexanLive.com. Makes a great gift. Get it for the loved one in your life. The gift of football. TexanLive.com. Hundreds of live Texas high school football games. And by the way, live playoff volleyball, live events all throughout the course of the year on TexanLive.com.
It's hoop season. You can watch a lot. If you're a hoop head like me, you can watch a lot of basketball.
Those crazy people who run Texan Live did like 1,900 events last year.
Yeah, I don't know what those people are on. They work way too hard.
Absolutely. Anyway, on to 6-man football. That's right. You think we're just 11-man snobs around here? Nah, ain't gonna happen. It's 1A Division I, and here to tell us about the smaller but more exciting bracket, 1A Division I, is Mallory Hartley.
And guys, I got rid of the men. It's just me. They're trusting just me with revealing the Class 1A bracket, 6-man football. Let's dive right in 1A Division I, Regions 1 and 2. Now, the top 4 are Region 1, the bottom 2 are Region 2. Let's get right into it. We're starting off strong with Booker versus Spring Lake Earth. We got Whiteface taking on Rankin, Buena Vista versus Borden County. And to round out Region 1, we've got the Happy Cowboys taking on Wildorado. And starting off in Region 2, we got Spur versus Newcastle. It's back. Westbrook taking on Robert Lee. Water Valley versus Ira. And Knox City taking on Turkey Valley. Now that's Region 1 and Region 2. Let's flip over to the other side of the 1A Division I bracket. And starting off in Region 3 there at the top, we've got Avalon taking on St. Joe. The Abbott Panthers versus Chester. Burkeville taking on Aquila. To round out Region 3, we've got Union Hill taking on Milford. And all right, guys, let's go ahead and round out 1A Division I with Region 4 down there. It's the powerful, mighty squad of Gordon taking on another powerful squad in May. We got Menard versus Buenavides. We got Prairie Lee versus Medina, and to close out 1A Division I, it's Jonesboro taking on Baird. What a fun Class 1A Division I, guys. What do you see?
Yeah, it's, they call 11-man football crowded field there in the 6-man ranks because you don't need all those guys on the field. You can just play 6-man ball, and that's what we got here. It's a really exciting bracket. I look at Region 1 on the left side of this bracket specifically. I really love what this 1A Division I team. Actually, can we pop up the 1A Division I bracket, please? I really like what they were what the 1A Division I bracket looks like there, specifically with Whiteface at the very top of it. Whiteface has looked absolutely terrific. 10-0 are the Antelopes. They have been terrific all year long. Happy is a team that, of course, is no stranger there, but I think Buena Vista is going to be another team to keep an eye on. That top half of that 1A Region 1 traditionally has been the power nexus there. Of course, you've got a team that's played in the last 3 state championship games in Westbrook there in Region 2. They still, to me, look like the favorite there, but Water Valley, I think, lurks as well. It's a dangerous Water Valley squad. Over to the other side of the bracket, Region 3, it's been a great year for Central Texas. Just plain and simple. Abbott is off to a terrific start under new coach Kyle Crawford. He has been absolutely terrific. Union Hill got a real surprising win over St. Joe. That sets up Avalon versus St. Joe in the first round of the playoffs, which is really interesting. I do not bury a team like Aquila either. I think they're going to be right in the mix as well. But in Region 4 is where you get, I think, the headliner here in Gordon, the team that looks the defending state champs. Rye Reed just picked up an offer from North Texas. That's a guy who's going to be a big-time playmaker for them. I really like this Gordon team, but a huge first-round matchup with 9-1 May. That's 10-0 versus 9-1 in the first round of the stinking playoffs. Congratulations, by the way, to Prairie Lee, who is into the playoffs for the first time since 1944. Congratulations to the Indians. Big doings there. Let's round things out to the smallest classification, 1A Division II, and here to take us home is Mallory Hartley.
Guys, I'm kind of sad. This is our last bracket to reveal. I feel like this has been too much fun to stop doing this, but Let's finish strong, guys. 1A Division 2, starting off in Region 1 again. The top 4 are Region 1, the bottom 2 are Region 2. Follett taking on Paducah. Whit Harrell taking on Sands. Klondike versus Amherst. And Motley County taking on Miami in Region 1. In Region 2, we got Grand Falls Royalty versus Lorain. Benjamin taking on Aspermont. The Jayton Jaybirds taking on Crowell. And to close out Region 2, we got Blackwell versus Balmorhea. Now let's flip it over to the other side of the bracket and reveal Regions 3 and 4. Strawn taking on Fanadel in a strong matchup there. We got Iredell taking on Bynum. Oakwood versus Three-Way. And we've got Goldberg taking on Woodson in Region 3. Guys, let's close it out with our last region of the night. It's 1A D2 Region 4. Zephyr taking on Evant. The Richland Springs taking on Calvert. Cherokee versus Rochelle. And to close it all out in Region 4, it's Oglesby taking on Blanket. Guys, last analysis of the night. What do you see?
Bye, Mallory. Thanks for your courage. 1A Division 2. A lot of fun. And a bracket that I think has an opportunity to really provide some storylines going forward. When I take a look at especially at Region 1, let's take a look at Region 1 real quick there. I love what Klondike has done. Do not get enamored with the record. They're 6-4, but they played a brutal non-district. I think they started off 0-4 and rattled off their last 6. I think Dalton DeGraff and the Reed squad might be the favorite there in Region 1, but Motley County lurks in the second round. Region 2 is where you're going to find Jayton, the number 1 team in the state. The Jaybirds 10-0, but they would have to get past the two-time defending state champs in the Benjamin Mustangs, albeit without Grayson Rigdon, who has moved on to the 11-man ranks. That'll be a fascinating ball game there between Jayton and Benjamin should they get to the regional finals. Meanwhile, over in Region 3, on the other side, Strawn is a team that I think has had a couple of relatively down years by their standards, but I think Dwayne Lee remains one of the best coaches in 6-man football. Keep an eye on them, but Iredell, the Dragons, are a team to keep an eye on as well. It's been a great year for Three-Way as well, a historic year for that program. Meanwhile, Region 4, there is a really fascinating thing brewing here, potentially in a regional final, between Richland Springs, long the standard bearer in 6-man football, going up against Oglesby and Kyler Fawcett and the unbelievable Tiger squad that Jeff Dixon has been able to put together. This is a really fascinating region there in Region 4 of 1A Division 2. Other than that, there's not a whole lot of football going on in Texas high school football. But, of course, that is all 12 UIL Texas High School Football Playoff brackets. Go to texasfootball.com/playoffs right now. You can get your printable Texas High School Football Playoff brackets, plus all of the game times and locations for all 352 UIL Texas High School Football Playoff games this weekend. texasfootball.com/playoffs. Go get your brackets, print them off, put them on your refrigerator. Get into a contest with your friends around the water cooler. Then
be the expert of your office.
Be here Monday at noon for the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Today Playoff Prediction Show with myself, Ashley Pickle, Greg Powers. I think Mallory Hartley is going to stop by. Make sure you hang out for the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Today Playoff Bracket Prediction Show. They'll coming at you noon wherever you're watching this show. And then check out our YouTube page where we will have Bracketology, where we'll break down all 12 UIL Texas High School Football Playoff brackets, everything you need to know to be an expert there. And of course, you can watch dozens and dozens of live Texas High School Football Playoff games at TexanLive.com. Become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber to go and watch dozens of live Texas High School Football Playoff games. Matt Stepp, 704 teams. It will be whittled down to 12 over the next 6 weeks. It's the most wonderful time of the year.
It's my favorite 6 weeks of the year right here. It's going to be a blast. High leverage of the best high school football in the world played right here in Texas. Can't wait.
It's going to be a lot of fun, and of course, we'll have you covered every step of the way at TexasFootball.com. That is going to do it for us on the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Playoff Bracket Reveal Show presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. We appreciate you spending a little bit of your late night with us. Want to thank everybody behind the scenes for helping to make this happen, with Ashley Pickle, Vinay Moreno, Ishmael Johnson, Brooke Miller, Will Wilkerson making it happen, plus Sam Moore working the controls as well. And thanks to everybody who was on the screen that helped make it happen as well. Greg Powers, Carter Yates, and Mallory Hartley alongside Matt Stepp. Good job, dude.
Thanks.
I thought
That's
you
football.
were great.
Thank you. I thought you were great too.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you saying that. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. And, of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. Happy playoffs from Dave Campbell's Texas Football. We'll see you Monday for the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Today playoff prediction show on TexasFootball.com.